So they're making another Scarface, and it's due out on the 10th of August 2018, although that date may well change. At this moment, all we've got to go on is the actor who will play the title role has been announced, Diego Luna, who is in Rogue One and The Bad Batch. At the moment, Universal doesn't even have a director attached, with Antoine Fuqua dropping out because of scheduling clashes, choosing instead to direct the Equalizer sequel. It looks as though Universal might choose Peter Berg, who directed Lone Survivor and Battleship. Or they might choose David McKenzie, who directed Hell on High Water and Tonight You're Mine. There are already in existence two Scarface movies, Howard Hawks' Scarface, with Paul Mooney as the titular gangster, and Brian De Palma's remake of the same name, with Al Pacino in what might possibly be his most famous role. Now Scarface 2018 may well be the best film of all three. I don't know, they haven't even started making it yet. But I think it will be a very hard film to get right. I'm not saying they won't get it right, I hope they do, but they have a lot to live up to. Now both Scarfaces are iconic, and Hawks' film, produced by he and Howard Hughes, has been hugely influential, not only for the gangster genre, but also for film in general. You know the cliched gangster or hustler in a suit and hat, flipping a coin without looking at it? That's from Hawks' Scarface. George Raft, in his breakout role, is Guido, Scarface's go-to guy. The movie is remarkable in how well it holds up. It's not at all stagey or over the top, as you may expect from a very early sound movie. It was made before film censorship in America, and as a result, it's violent and gritty. Unlike De Palma's version, it's also quite humorous too.
Hello, please, I can't hear what you say. That's O'Hara's mom.
How do you like this place?
Kind of gaudy, isn't it?
Ain't it though? Glad you like it.
De Palma's Scarface, undoubtedly much more known to a general movie-going audience, is much more graphically violent. It's much more over-the-top and bombastic and thick with tension.
Watch what happened to your friend. You don't want this to happen to you? Give me the money, okay?
Both movies are very much of their time, and although they have different stories, they both centre around Tony, aka Scarface, a nasty piece of work whose only curb to his bloody-minded ambition is the disregard to his own safety. In the 30s Scarface, Tony does whatever he wants until his boss has enough, but he survives a hit and eliminates his boss before killing his friend and new brother-in-law and getting surrounded by the police.
They think they're gonna get Tony money, eh?
In the 80s Scarface, written by Oliver Stone, Tony is a Cuban exile who usurps a local coke boss and becomes Mr. Big in Miami, but isn't satisfied as long as he has to report to Paul Shanar's Do Not Fuck Sosa.
I only tell you one time. Don't fuck me, Tony. Don't you ever try to fuck me.
Next time you get a new job, you should try that line, as you're signing the contract too, looking up as you finish, just to make sure that they know they've made a huge mistake. So the 2018 film is going to have Scarface as a Latino gangster, in what we're led to believe will be a story similar to its predecessors. A hoodlum rising through the ranks of a criminal organisation, eventually taking the top, and eventually, probably, losing it all, or at least having to fight for it. The Coen brothers have contributed to at least a draft, but it's important to note that they're not the only writers. This isn't their script, it's just something they're working on. Although, as it's so early, everything is quite opaque. Both Scarface films use a lot of tension, not only in the short term, where we're wondering what Tony's going to do next, but in very well constructed, long-term narrative arcs. Hawkes Scarface was based on a book of the same name, published in 1930, and written by Armitage Traig, who died shortly afterwards. The book is a kind of fictionalized account of Al Capone's rise and fall, Al Capone, often known as Scarface. Interestingly, in the book, Scarface is killed by his own brother, a Chicago police officer. The point is, it's about rise and fall. It's about a significant chunk of someone's life, and I think that can be very hard to match. Scarface 1983 has a runtime of 170 minutes, and in my opinion, none of it drags. Both films do something I think is quite hard to replicate. They take not only a villain, but a quite unlikable human being, and they make him the protagonist. Scarface isn't a flawed hero. He isn't an anti-hero. He's a nasty piece of shit, and he's the guy we're following. He's the guy we're rooting for, or not. De Palma's Scarface does this particularly well, with Tony Montana clawing his way to the top, only to disintegrate under his own psychopathy and beneath the weight of his own ego. He's a horrible human being, but you can't help but watch. You want to know what's going to happen at every moment. And as incredible as Hawkes' film is, it's the '83 version that any new attempt is going to be compared to. Making any protagonist memorable is difficult, but making a protagonist who is utterly detestable, watchable for 90 minutes or 2 hours, that's tough. What's going to be really tough for the new production is Diego Luna living up to Al Pacino. Maybe the way the role's written and the way it's directed will mean that the new film isn't fairly comparable to '83 Scarface, but people are going to compare it anyway. I've heard people say De Palma's Scarface is cheesy. I don't think it's cheesy, I think it's reflective of its time and it's making a point about excess, but each to their own. It may be cheesy, but cheesy or not, Al Pacino is incredibly memorable. The thing is even though the '83 version is itself a remake, Pacino is Scarface. It's the easiest quiz question of all time, isn't it? Who plays Scarface? It's like saying who played Rambo or who played the Terminator. Even people who aren't interested in movies at all know that. Pacino is totally iconic as the coked out of his mind, cockroaches Tony Montana. A new performance is going to be compared to that instantly, and it's going to have to be the performance of a lifetime to compare favourably. Aside from that, I said earlier that both films are of their time. That doesn't mean that they've aged badly, but that they have a unique style. Hawkes' film is of the early gangster genre, the type of film you might expect to see James Cagney in or Edward G. Robinson. It's men in hats and suits machine gunning each other, while they have lunch with women who look like Bridget Helm in Metropolis. It's got car chases and people who say, "See?"
And every guy that's got money enough to buy a gun is going to try to step into his place. You see?
De Palma's film is as 80s as Coke itself, although maybe Coke is timeless. It's iconic, but the challenge I think for Scarface 2018 is that the '83 version works on two different levels, or, if you like, for two different audiences. You can have the guys come round to your place, have a few beers, and watch Scarface. You can shout at the TV. It's very quotable. Someone can come in and say, "You've got a look in your eye like you haven't been fucked in a year." You can quote it. You can have fun with it. You can treat it as a popcorn movie. But at the same time, it works as a serious movie. It works as a piece of art.
You still got the money?
Yeah. And I got the yayo.
You got the Jaeger?
Yeah, right.
Bring it here.
Fuck you. I ain't taking it to Lopez myself. Yeah? Now you, me.
It's not like Scary Movie, which is just a bit of fun. But it's not like The Revenant, which a group would probably end up watching in stony silence. You can treat it any way you want. Maybe that's to do with nostalgia. Maybe it's to do with looking back at the oozing '80s with incredulity. But it's there. And that's the thing. It's very hard to remake such an iconic movie. A movie that still has an audience today. In such a way, it satisfies expectations. RoboCop didn't manage it. Total Recall certainly didn't manage it. Maybe it doesn't matter. I'm sure they can make money anyway if they don't go mad. And that is of course why they're doing this. For the Scarface name. Because at the end of the day, a modern gangster film with a Latino star doesn't really stand out. We've got a lot of those. Call it Scarface, you've got yourself an audience. I mean, it's one of the few remakes I'll be really keen to see when it comes out. Let's hope in 40 years some dick in front of a camera will be saying, "Oh, they'll never be able to match 2018 Scarface, that was so iconic." But we'll see. Thanks for joining me. Subscribe if you want to see more. I'll see you next time. Fucking cockroaches.
Cockroaches. Come on.
You want to play rough? Okay. Say hello to my little friend.